Oh, perfect. Hi. So this is Vega right here, and this is the first vlog of our second semester. And today I'll be talking about Han Solo, a solo story, and the hero's journey and like how it's being portrayed in the movie. I'm gonna mostly focus on that than Rogue One, as much as I like Rogue One. I've seen it a bunch, and I'm done talking about it. So what I want to say is, first I'll be including my ticket in my outline, so you can see that I did attend it. I went the night before opening night. I had early tickets to see it. It's one of my favorite movie. It was one of my favorite franchise. As you can tell, I have the original Empire Strikes poster on my wall. So yes, I went to see it. It was incredible. I want to touch really quickly on the interviews that we watched during the week, especially the one with Joseph Campbell. But I really loved what George Lucas said in his, especially with like focusing on, is Star Wars a religious movie? But he really says that he includes the Force and religions as promoting faith more than religion, because faith is what holds society together, is what he says. And he says the Force is showing the awakening within spirituality, and then we decide if that belief is good or not. And then he even says, like, I want people to lead with the belief of God, which I thought was very interesting for him to include in his interview. But I don't think George Lucas holds I think he definitely holds Christian views. I think he definitely believes in a God. But I think he's very open to all these myths and these rituals and all these other religions and their gods too. He doesn't shun them out. He thinks that all the races have a god, so there must be one, at least one, And he said that he chose to implement myth motifs within his Star Wars franchise, especially dealing with like issues today. And he loves portraying the birth and death process within his movie. But yeah, he took definitely inspiration from his friend Joseph Campbell, who exposed him to like, cosmic questions and where do we come from, how are we created, how do different religions differ with that story. But George Lucas is mentoring an audience about myths and rituals at a much larger perspective, because it's being shown through a movie instead of being shown through like a lecture. And he said that myth and rituals have to have certain motifs in them. Like a myth has to help. Find yourself. A myth gives everyone a chance to be a hero. You're always going to face temptation. He says that he showed a lot of, even the interviewer compares to, his movie to the myth of Jesus and Satan, how Satan's offered this whole world, just as Luke was offered the Empire, and he's decided if he wants to take that or not. So even that, seeing that, myth portraying with that was interesting. And George Lucas even stops the interview and says, look, that happens in a lot of religions. I'm taking inspiration not just from Christianity, from every religion. And I think that's very important. But he says that you have to like follow your talent. That the heroes follow them talent. What do you want to do? What are you interested in? And that'll be something that you love to do and be interested in. And all these heroes go through that. So I also want to go into the interview with Joseph Campbell, who wrote The Heroes with a Thousand Faces, which is his most famous novel. And Joseph Campbell, I want to touch on a couple things. Especially he talks about like the hero has to do a deed. So a physical deed or a spiritual deed. And Han, I think, does both. He's doing a physical deed. He wants to save this girl. Like he wants to save these people. He wants to, be the moral person within the situation. And he really, sacrifices a lot and almost sacrifices himself at times for that cause. And then he also, I think, there's also a spiritual journey he's taking also within the, a deed with he's taking out the movie. I think he's, he starts the movie being very naive. He trusts his, Kira because he thinks he knows her. And I think he returns, after his journey back with more knowledge. Maybe people shouldn't be trusted as much. Who should I trust? Who needs my help? Is it worth giving my help? Is it even the right moral decision to do it? Does the moral decision even matter to him if, the girl leaves? But I would like to think of Han Solo, a solo story, as a hero's journey, but also portraying the initiation, right? We see a very young Hanzo, very teenager, start off very naive and very like almost not even scared. Like he doesn't even know like what's really out there yet. And as soon as he crosses the threshold, as soon as he crosses the the door, and Kira's left behind, and he has to go by himself off into the world, and he swears that he'll come back for her. We see that Han transforms. He dies. The child within him dies within that moment, and he's reborn as someone who has become, as Joseph Campbell said, from psychologically dependent to psychologically self-dependent, self-reliant on himself. And that's why I really think the initiation rite is showcasing. Child part dies. Transformative process. It's the fundamental experience that we all go through as we're maturing. But yeah, I also think that a hero has to have a moral objective, which Han Solo does. He wants to save not only the people who are suffering, and from making these little chips, they look like to me, and also the girl he loves, he's trying to save her and take her with him, although he gets double crossed at the end. But then I also want to talk about one thing Joseph Campbell mentioned in his email. He mentioned the fire death the fire death scene, which is when the humans take the fire and they bring it back to the village, and then they have the knowledge of fire. I think that these chips represent the fire. Han Solo steals it, and then he steals the fire. He then goes through a relay race, which Joseph Campbell said that can be a component of that. He races, trying to get out with his girl, and ends up leaving with the fire but losing the girl. So like, what was more important? And did the fire burn him? And I think it did burn Han in this situation. He lost the love of his life. Lost her, I think, in a more personal way than like death. And then we also see that if we think of Han and Kira both as heroes, they go down paths and they have decisions on, should I follow the moral decision, or do I follow the decision that benefits me the most? I think Han is way more likely to be like, let's follow the moral decision, and Kira really more cares about what she's gonna gain from the situation. I think she is very reliant on this organization that she is related to, and the burn mark on her that has been burned to her, I think that symbol represents the evil within the world. Anyone with that symbol is evil and corrupt. So I think we can only assume that Kira has been corrupted, and who knows if there's a chance for her to come back from that. But other than that, that's what I really wanted to focus. I loved Han Solo, a solo story, although it could seem a little childish at times, and I wish it had a little more grit to it, to please, more of the adult audience. I understand they're trying to introduce, a younger audience into it. When I went to the movies, it was opening night, it was really packed. I saw a lot of people who were older, closer to my age, or my father's age, who was born, 1969, and got to see the original Star Wars in theater. I saw the people that age. I saw a lot of fans, a lot of Star Wars t-shirts. I surprisingly saw a good number of kids, who were a little loud. And I just saw some diehard fans who, came with, like, shirts and, were excited. And then girls who didn't understand, bring their girlfriends who didn't really understand, the franchise. But yeah, overall, great movie. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great night.